Welcome to the bonus video of The Wolf Among Us. The most important part of this video is, well, to share the Book of Fables that you do get to unlock throughout the whole entire game. And just to show you, I have like pretty much I missed like 2, 5, 6. Just 6. I've missed only 6 in the entirety of the game. So here we go. We have Big B Wolf. The renowned Big Bad Wolf. He's known for tormenting pigs and girls in red hoods, but is trying to put those dark days behind him. Big B now acts as Fabletown's sheriff and remains in human form mostly. However, due to his rough past, the citizens of Fabletown are slow to trust him. Big B is determined to change, to show that he's truly changed, but some instincts are just hard to control. And then we have Snow White. Oh, I could just do that. Okay. Snow White, assistant to deputy mayor. Snow White may seem cold, but this stems from her life of mistreatment and abuse back in the homelands. After escaping assault and imprisonment, and not to mention an attempt on her life, she married Prince Charming. It wasn't long before Snow discovered that Charming cheated on her with her estranged sister, Rose Red, and she divorced him. After the Exodus, Snow focused her attention on setting up safe haven for Fables in a new world. She now serves as the assistant to deputy mayor of Fabletown. The Woodsman, a fallen hero. The Woodsman is one of the few men who went toe-to-toe with Big B in his Black Forest days and lived to tell tale. In his attempt to save Little Red Riding Hood, he split the Great Wolf's belly open with his axe, filled him full of rocks, and threw the beast into a river. To his dismay, his popularity has faded. Even his name is forgotten, and he is only known as the Woodsman. Faith, Donkey Skin Girl. Faith, otherwise known as the Donkey Skin Girl, made it through the Exodus from the magical homelands with the clothes on her back, her husband, and nothing else. She was once a beautiful princess, happily married to Prince Lawrence of a neighboring kingdom. Her life should have had a happy ending, but the mundane city of New York wasn't kind to her or her marriage. With no money, Faith found herself turning tricks to make the rent for a cheap apartment on the outskirts of Fabletown. She had a difficult life, but she did what she could to survive in an unfamiliar world. Beauty, caring wife. Beauty and her husband Beast once lived in an enchanted castle, but they were forced to flee the homelands in the Exodus, leaving all of their wealth behind. Now they live in a modest studio in Fabletown, New York. Though times are hard, with Beast working multiple jobs to pay the bills, the couple have the longest lasting relationship of all the Fables. Beast, concerned husband. Beast and his wife Beauty left everything behind when they escaped the homelands in the Exodus. Without his former wealth, Beast must pick up extra work to make ends meet. He's able to get around Fabletown without a glamour most of the time. But if Beauty gets too angry with him, he becomes more beastly by the minute, growing horns and large teeth. Despite the occasional bickering, the two are truly in love and have the longest lasting relationship of anyone in Fabletown. Mr. Toad, Slumlord. Mr. Toad is the superintendent for a defunct tenement on the edge of Fabletown proper. Because he's a 3.5-foot talking amphibian, Toad is required by Fabletown law to keep his family and himself magically glamored to appear human. The problem is Toad isn't too concerned with what the law is, and has to be reminded often. Well, sorry, but rules are rules. Colin, couch surfer. Colin is better known as one of the three little pigs. Back in the homelands, they were harassed by the big bad wolf, who blew down Colin's house of straw. After the Exodus, Colin and the other Fables, who couldn't pass for human, were sent to live at the farm in upstate New York. Unable to stand such a boring life, Colin constantly makes trips down to Fabletown to bother Bigby. So he's caught and sent back to the farm, but he doesn't let that stop him. Ichabod Crane, Deputy Mayor of Fabletown, or former Deputy Mayor of Fabletown. Hailing from the haunted town of Sleepy Hollow, that's what it is, the tale of Sleepy Hollow. Ichabod Crane has been Deputy Mayor of Fabletown for nearly 115 years. Crane is a bundle of nerves and takes his job very seriously. Though that doesn't mean he always does it well. As one of Fabletown's elite, Crane is often blind to the troubles of the less well-off citizens. Overall, Crane is authoritative, cowardly, and always hiding something. Buffkin. He's from The Wizard of Oz, of course. He's a winged monkey. Fabletown Librarian. Buffkin is the talking winged monkey from the land of Oz. Now as Fabletown's librarian, he spends his time reading and stealing the deputy mayor's booze. He's prone to mischief, so when something goes wrong, he'll assume he'll receive the lion's share of the blame. He's helpful when he wants to be, but most of the time, he'd rather be drinking. Someone would have fired him a long time ago, but he's the only one who can make sense of the filing system. Fabletown, home of the Fables. Fabletown is a community located on Bullfinch Street in Manhattan's Upper West Side. To regular people, or Mondays, it appears to be an ordinary New York neighborhood. But it really is the home of the Fables from many worlds. And within the business office at the Woodlands lies a massive cavern, a vast library, and hundreds of magical items of immense power. All non-human fables live upstate on the farm, an extension of Fabletown. The farm. The farm is home to fables who cannot pass as humans, giants, goblins, animals, and so forth. It is located in upstate New York, far enough away from the Mondays to avoid detection. Some of the residents resent their confinement to the farm, despite its size and comforts. To them, the farm is a prison. They would be allowed to leave the farm if they could purchase a glamour. But many don't have the money for something so expensive, though some, like Colin, sneak out to the city anyway. Mondays, short for mundane. Monday is a catch-all term that fables use to refer to the non-magical inhabitants of their adopted home. Warding spells placed around the blocks of Fabletown and the farm keep their minds distracted and dull within certain boundaries. However, if anything should pique the curiosity or scrutiny of a large group of Mondays, these magical protection charms would overload and fail. As Sheriff of Fabletown, one of Bigby's primary functions is ensuring the Fabletown community maintains a low profile. Glamours. Glamours are spells that allow the user to change their appearance. It's technically shapeshift. They are expensive but can be purchased by non-human fables in order to pass for human among the Mondays. Cheap glamours can be found in the seedier parts of Fabletown, but are often unreliable and prone to sudden failure. Prince Lawrence, Faith's husband. After escaping the homelands, Prince Lawrence and his wife, Faith, immediately fell victim to the harsh realities of the mundane world. They moved to New York, hoping to find aid in community of fellow fables. But without enough money to live in Fabletown, They had to settle on an apartment on the outskirts of the neighborhood. Unfortunately, that meant they were out of sight and out of mind when it came to the government's assistance. Oh, just like real life. Their prospects dwindling. Faith left Lawrence to try to make it on her own. Now without his wife for support, Lawrence struggles to motivate himself and quickly sinks into depression. The Tweedles. The Tweedle brothers, Dumb and Dee, are thugs for hire. They appear human, allowing them to carry out their contracts in the Mundy world without drawing suspicions. They are inseparable as they are ruthless. Holly. Trip Trap owner. Holly's a no-nonsense kind of troll. The owner of the Trip Trap bar. She's glamored to appear human, but her patrons know better. Holly takes good care of her regulars, often downtrodden fables with little to spare, but she has no patience for the Fabletown government that has done nothing to locate her missing sister. Grendel. Drifter. Grendel just wants to be left alone. In the old days, he terrorized Norse meat halls, but lately he can be found occupying a stool in various quiet, dumpy bars around New York. He hates the noise of the city, but must work there to afford his glamour. Despite his gruff bearing, he's fiercely loyal to those who've learned to offer him the space and silence he desires. Talking to him is like watching a time bomb tick down. It's only a matter of time. Bluebeard, wealthy scoundrel. Bluebeard managed to escape the homelands with his riches intact and continues to be one of the wealthiest fables in New York. The Fabletown government depends on his generous contributions, and he often uses this influence for his own benefit. As a former serial killer, he claims his days of decapitating his brides are over. But even if he was able to leave his violent ways in the homelands, that hasn't stopped him from making the occasional trip down Crooked Lane. Bigby's Mercy. In days leading up to the Exodus, the Big Bad Wolf hunted armies of men and goblins in the Black Forest. These invading forces had driven off the Great Beast's preferred quarry, and their own flesh was rotting with corruption. Hardly a suitable replacement. He made his game to destroy their camps, devour their night watchmen, and disrupt their supply trains while sparing their prisoners. One day he broke their ranks and discovered a particular woman they held captive. Her skin was as white as snow, but her hair was as dark as night. He approached her, and she, knowing no sword could match the giant wolf's power, bravely placed her shackles in the beast's mouth. He freed her, but years would pass before the two met again in the Mundy world. Ichabod's Denial, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. During his days in Sleepy Hollow, Ichabod Crane fell in love with a wealthy young woman named Katrina von Tressel. She was beautiful and very rich, but that meant she also caught the attention of another suitor, Abraham Braun van Brunt. As Ichabod's rival, Braun would plan nasty pranks in order to humiliate the often superstitious schoolteacher. Despite Braun's plots to win Katrina over, Ichabod believed he would be chosen as her favorite. After a party at her father's home, Ichabod proposed to Katrina and was very quickly rejected. He immediately rode off in shame and was never seen in Sleepy Hollow again. According to Crane, he was chased out of town by the Headless Horseman, but in reality it was probably just another one of Braun's pranks. Bluebeard's Mercy. Bluebeard's last wife. After a long line of marriages resulting in quote-unquote mysterious disappearances, Bluebeard's last wife in the homelands was naturally suspicious of him. One day he departed on business, leaving her alone in the estate. He gave her free rein of all the rooms, but made her promise not to open the closet on the ground floor. She defied him, of course, and discovered the location of his missing wives. When Bluebeard returned, he knew he must kill her before she revealed his murder secret. She persuaded him to allow her a moment to pray, which he reluctantly granted. This small mercy gave her brothers time to arrive and rescue her, and Bluebeard's crimes were exposed. The 13th floor, the witches and wizards of Fabletown. The 13th floor of the Woodland Building is home to a group of witches and wizards tasked with the protection of Fabletown. Oh, just like the Sages of East. They use their powers to keep the community hidden from prying Monday eyes, but all magic has its limits, and every spell has its costs. The Witching Well. The Witching Well is located in the chamber inside the Woodland Building, where it is used to dispose of things meant never to be seen again. Dead fables are committed to its depths, as are the most unredeemable criminals. No one is entirely sure what lies at the bottom of the well, nor indeed if it has a bottom at all, but it is widely assumed to be the passageway to the final resting place. Jack Horner, harmless trickster. Jack's always up to something, but he's not nearly as smart as he thinks he is. His plans to get rich quick often backfire, but his confidence never wavers. He thinks he's the most important person in Fabletown, but everyone knows him as mostly as a harmless smartass. Lily, estranged sister. Lily and her sister Holly grew up in the homelands together, but had a falling out shortly after moving to the mundane world. Aimless and increasingly destitute, Lily turned to prostitution, and now she's the second victim in an ongoing murder investigation, which was already solved. Troll Cross. A troll cross is an amulet made of an iron that was foolishly thought to protect the wearer from trolls. Lily acquired hers while wandering through the wilderness, searching for something to eat. She came across a human, but before she could devour him, he held the troll cross out and shouted, "Back! Back, you troll!" After enjoying her tasty snake, Lily plucked the cross from the dead man's hands. After the exodus, she wore the troll cross constantly as a reminder of better days. Georgie Porgy, the pimp. Georgie Porgy runs the Pudding and Pie, a strip club that caters to the unmentionable desires of Fabletown citizens. He has tried just about everything there is to try in pursuit of worldly pleasures, but none of it satisfies him for long. He does seem to enjoy pushing people's buttons. He takes pride in the nightclub and doesn't react well to anyone meddling in his affairs. Clever Hans, bouncer, janitor, and handyman. Clever Hans, I think he might be Hansel, always does as he's told. However, he often misunderstands his instructions and ends up hurting himself or behaving oddly, as in the case of his noted fable where he threw sheep's eyes at his wife. Unsurprisingly, she left him, and now Hans works as a bouncer at George's club. He hopes to dance on stage one day, but for now, he's content sweeping up and making sure the crowd doesn't get out of hand. Nerissa, the Little Mermaid, the original Little Mermaid. Nerissa's story never had a happy ending. She's known as the Little Mermaid, the young girl who gave up her pair of legs in hopes of winning the heart of a handsome prince. When he married a princess instead, Nerissa was left heartbroken. She made the journey to the mundane world hoping for a better life. Now she dances at the Pudding and Pie, but each step she takes feels like she's walking on shards of glass. She has very little left, but finds some comfort in the company of her fellow dancers. Vivian, Georgie's girl. Much of Vivian's past is unknown, since she prefers not to talk about her life back in the homelands. She wanted to start fresh in Fabletown, but she finds herself working for Georgie at the Pudding and Pie. It's not a terrible life. Georgie took a liking to Vivian, so he doesn't make her take jobs at the Open Arms. Instead, she plays hostess and helps Georgie ensure complete customer satisfaction. Dr. Swinehart, the army surgeon. Dr. Swinehart is the resident Fabletown physician, so skilled in the art of instrumental surgery that he can safely operate on himself. He served as an army medic for many years, sometimes using his talents to impress the locals. He currently runs the Special Research Section of the Knights of Malta Hospital, so named to discourage people for investigating what is actually a reserve Fables focused health facility. Flycatcher, the Frog Prince. A former prince turned to a frog by which the friendly, genial Flycatcher now carries the nickname as an unsettled reference to his propensity for catching and eating flies. His wife and their children were brutally murdered back in the homelands, a fact he attempts to deny himself by committing a series of endless tasks and janitorial duties. The Trip Trap Bar, the Watering Hole, the oldest bar in New York City. The Trip Trap was established in 1725 in secret by Starkad, the legendary Viking, and reprobate, as a place for fables to meet and drinking and compensate. Known then as the Grammarian's Tavern, he eventually lost it to a bet to a tribe of mountain trolls who quickly renamed it and made it their own. Holly is the current proprietor, having inherited it from her mother when she died in a boating accident in the early 20th century. Auntie Greenleaf, the White Deer. Horticulturist, alchemist, and lover of animals, Auntie Greenleaf is one of the very few rogue witches still living outside on the 13th floor, unsupervised and unrestricted. Rumored to have lost a daughter in the homelands. She suffers from paranoia and depressive mood swings, and will only venture outside at regular hours under the guise of an ethereal white deer, an oft-whispered specter of Brookhaven natives. Glamour Tube, the handy disguise. Glamours can be produced in a variety of ways, but one is the most common due to ease of use is to take a small hollow-out tube or container and place within it several items unique to whomever the caster wants to copy, which is required for the reactionary charm. Two downsides of glamour is that totally unique appearances are completely impossible, and the nature of the vessel makes it quite unstable. The ring of this belt, the Arthurian band. Reputed to be fashioned by a Byzantine clan in an attempt to ward off a coven of witches, the ring of dispel or dispelling ring or magic canceling ring eventually was given to Lancelot by the lady in the lake. Recovered by the business office after immigration to New Amsterdam. Old New York, it was once New Amsterdam. What's the reason I can't say? Maybe they liked it better that way! It was assigned to Greenleaf for caretaking. Bloody Mary, the urban legend. The true history of the person known as Bloody Mary is almost completely unknown. Even to Fables most acquainted with its members. Her name, Mary, at least, is not up for contention, nor is her penchant for shocking violence and inlaid resistance to magic and spells, and strange ability to use any reflective surface as a portal, effectively shortcutting space and time. Thought by Mondays to be the wailing apparition of a childless ghost, though any evidence of that is as yet unseen. Silver bullets, the wolf's weakness. The legend of the great and magical wolves often make mention of their weakness against weapons made of silver, and those tales bear out to be true. The silver bullet Mary shot Bigby was not the first, but any of them could be his last. Any silver left in Bigby's body weakens his system, slows his healing, and can cause long-term damage. Acting Deputy. With Ichabod Crane firmly out of the picture, and King Cole still absent, the task of leading Fabletown falls squarely on Snow's shoulders. She has performed many of the job's duties for a long time, picking up the slack for Crane. Now that she's fully in charge of the business office, she has to deal with a new level of politicking, and she has not previously been exposed to. The donkey skin coat, hide in plain sight. Only the truly beautiful will fully understand the power of a coat that makes its wearer appear ugly. It is the power to be invisible while still being seen. Unfortunately, its value can also be hard to see, but it is still a magic coat, and to some collectors that is enough. The Briar Rose from Sleeping Beauty. One of the few fables to find fortune in this world. Briar Rose has even turned her weakness into a strength. When her fingers pricked, it not only puts her to sleep, but also those within a certain radius of her slumber. This can be powerful. This can be a powerful tool, and it's just one of the ways this Sleeping Beauty is more than just a pretty face. If only she didn't need a kiss from a prince to wake her up. The Jersey Devil, a garden seagull. Not all the fables who came to this world landed in Fabletown. There are those who scattered across the farthest corners of the earth, and there are those who simply prefer the Garden State to the Empire State. Such is the Jersey Devil. Reports of its appearances have varied, although most of the accounts have mention of leathery wings. But an encounter with a certain axe of legend some years ago has temporarily rendered that feature absent. The Woodsman's Axe, ensouled by druids. Once used as a simple tool for felling trees, the axe became much more when it was ensouled by druids and marked with their runes. But it truly became an object of legend when the woodsman used to slice the big bad wolf from nape to neck in protection of Little Red Riding Hood. Make her old world charm, but simplicity of design and quality workmanship make it an effective tool or weapon even today. Johann, the Butcher. His name is often said in the same breath as that of the baker and candlestick maker of Fabletown. And like those other tradesmen, Johann the Butcher's storefront has served Fabletowns for ages. Fresh cuts, exotic meats, and even full sides of beef for the vigorous appetites of ogres and trolls. But Johann's business has fallen on hard times and fallen in with the wrong crowd. As the quality of his products declined and his business turned into a front operation for the crooked man, some have started to wonder if they ever really knew Johann. Bluebeard's money. One might think that Bluebeards donate funds to Fabletown government for nefarious purposes, seeking special favors or to have louder voice in government proceedings. But what he really wants is stability and strength. Because as far as Bluebeard is concerned, Fabletown exists to insulate him from the Monday world. As such, as his money can be a sword, it also serves as a shield. The Crooked Lair, headquarters. Occupying a sanctified church, this is one of many locations the Crooked Man's operations used to run the Fabletown underworld. Its lounge atmosphere makes a comfortable meeting place, unless you're an unwelcome guest. It is completely boarded up to the outside world, and the only way in is through one of the many portals marked by the Crooked Man's Catherine Wheel. So that's what's called, a Catherine Wheel. Item scattered across the city and elsewhere. The Crooked Man, Prime Lord. The Crooked Man has slowly built himself into one of the most powerful figures in Fabletown. His operation started with a crooked sixpence and a crooked house, two things he cared more than his wife or children, whom he killed rather than let them stand in his way. In his rise, the Crooked Man has ensnared many fables in his criminal web, providing them what they need, but always at a high cost. He's cunning, persuasive, and ruthless. Tiny Tim, Century. While most fables theorize that their longevity and overall well-being is improved by the Monday's world knowledge of them, for a select few, that does not seem to apply. When a malady or injury is an integral part of a fable story, that notoriety can make recovery nearly impossible. That's what Tiny Tim thinks, at least. And no medical care or magic, rather none that he can afford, can heal his leg. Of course, it came from Dickens' A Christmas Carol. Life on a farm. With its idyllic location and a managed community, the farm would seem to be a welcome alternative to eking out existence in Fabletown. But those who have lived there see it differently. Excuse me. They see it for what it is, a prison. A place where you are free to be who you are and do whatever you please, except leave. It doesn't help that while fables who appear human do not have to worry about being sent to the farm, they always seem to fill the leadership roles there. Vivian's story, The Girl with the Ribbon. Vivian was the first to bear the curse of the purple ribbon. Removing the ribbon would result in death, and any attempt to talk about it was thwarted by the spell upon it. As time went on, she tried to live a normal life. Eventually, she married a nice man, but was constantly wondering about the ribbon around her neck. Despite her pleas for him to leave it alone, one night while she was sleeping, he attempted to remove it. As he pulled on the edge of the string, Vivian woke and saw what her husband was doing. In a panic, she pulled away, preventing the ribbon's knot from being undone. Furious, she tried to express the severity of his actions, but her husband wasn't able to understand. She realized that she couldn't trust him and decided to leave. She lived alone for the rest of her days in the homelands, preferring the safety of isolation to the risk of another betrayal. The Pudding and Pie. That place. Vivian and Georgie met during the exodus from the homelands, and they helped each other survive the long journey to the mundane world. Upon their arrival, however, they found it hard to make a decent living. With what little money they had, they opened a pudding and pie. Operating a strip club may not have been the most desirable occupation, but they figured it was better to be in charge of a place like this than be forced through desperation to work at one. Really? I read through all these? God damn! The Big Bad Wolf. Bigby's true form. Bigby's true form is that of a giant 8-foot wolf. 8-foot tall wolf. In addition to his iconic huff and puff power, he has also inherited other abilities from his father, the North Wind. For example, Bigby is able to hold his breath for an abnormally long amount of time, making it impossible for him to drown. Mary's loyalty, part of the job. Bloody Mary began working for the Crooked Man many centuries ago. He promised her freedom to do whatever she pleased, as long as she agreed to act as his personal bodyguard and hitman. Because of the Crooked Man's power and influence, Mary never had to worry about getting caught by the authorities. She enjoys her job immensely and would defend the Crooked Man to the death, but mostly because she finds it fun. Fabletown Justice. When a criminal is captured in Fabletown, the traditional procedure is to hold a formal hearing in front of the community or concerned parties. However, exceptions are often made to expedite the process. And in reality, there aren't hard and fast rules for these types of situations, and the extent to which policies are upheld and can depend on who's being charged. A New Order. Snow White in charge. With Crane out of the picture, Mayor Cole has officially appointed Snow White as Director of Operations and Deputy Mayor in his absence. Many would say this promotion is a long time coming, since she was instrumental in the establishment of Fabletown and personally ensured that many fables made it to the new world safely. She's been doing the work of deputy mayor unofficially for years. Sheriff Bigby. After fleeing the homeland, Bigby Wolf spent many years wandering through Europe. With a fable colony quickly developing in the New World, Snow White and Feathertop tracked down the wolf and offered him passage to Fabletown. He agreed, and Snow cut him with a lycanthropy stained knife to give him the power to change into human form at will. Bigby became sheriff of Fabletown under King Cole's administration, but because of his violent past, many Fables didn't trust him, and he was banned from ever setting foot to the farm. To this day, he struggles to redeem himself in the eyes of the community. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. That's all the Book of Fables, at least. That's everything that I could possibly get out of all this. As you can see, these are all my choices throughout the entirety of the game. And of course, my achievements. These are mostly all the achievements I got from the entirety of the game. So the only real achievements that I haven't really gotten were just the book ones. And if you can see it like this, once upon a time there was a wolf who ruled the land. He was much feared, but soon he mended his evil ways and all were happy. So as you see, these are all the achievements I received in the entirety of the game. So yeah, that's it. That's all the extra stuff I had to show you in The Wolf Among Us. So I hope you really enjoyed this Let's Play as much as I have. Worked my ass off to edit as much of the naughty bits as I could possibly do. And I will see you next game. So with that, I consider this game done and done. So, I'll see you with more videos.